Hello, my wonderful friends. It's time again for a story. A story from Reddit user Regrettably Beardbait. That is an interesting name. And this is the story of Diddlebeard looking for his third wheel. Oh, what a name. Before we get into this, I do want to address something that I'm sure a bunch of you probably thought as soon as you saw the name of this. I'm not the only one to read this story. Yes, I know that RedX has read this story. I actually talked to him about it, and I don't have a problem with that, because I know he sent me a message about, like, you know, is it cool if I read story? And I was like, yeah, that's fine, don't worry about it, it's all cool. So, I also know that he gave a wonderful shout out to me on his channel, so I'm trying in my awkward, stupid way to do the exact same thing. After spending some time, not just, you know, checking out that video, but actually talking with him and being on his Discord, and, you know, hint, hint, we both have Discords, you should check those out. There's only a link to mine in my video, you're gonna have to find the other one. Good luck, weary traveler. So, it's my very roundabout way of saying that he's a really wonderful person, and I'm really glad that we got to talk, and, you know, I'm happy with that. So with all that being said, let us get to this story. There are three characters. Diddlebeard.
Yo, Diddlebeard's here!
I've been doing that all night ever since I saw the title of this. Click Clack the Sperm Whale. That's a hell of a name. And OP1. Salutations, cringe enthusiasts. We have another tale to add to the ever-growing parade of neckbeards. Here, in these edited pages, to keep some of the details confidential, we will call him
Diddlebeard!
You're gonna have to get used to that voice. I'm sorry, I can't help it. Or DB for short. All other names have been changed to reflect their personalities as well. I'm adding in a trigger warning. This story will be discussing sensitive topics like unwanted sexual contact and death. Oh, jeez. For your enjoyment, this Neckbeard series will be told from two perspectives. I am OP1, and with me, I have OP2, adding in some stomach-churning details of his own accounts of
Diddlebeard.
To begin, we need to paint the picture of Diddlebeard and explain the name. He is a 2-meter-tall pale man, generally a healthy weight, and is legally blind, but drives around in a retired first responder vehicle with most of the original decals. Weird. DB thinks that he is the best self-taught carpenter there is, and would routinely create an array of holes in a wall trying to hang anything, refusing to use the level at hand. Oh, that's bad. He has a service dog that he stops and encourages strangers to pet, and plays anime intros whenever he's driving or otherwise occupied. Diddlebeard wears massive rings on all of his fingers, most of which have green circles, but he swears they are silver, okay, guy? With his giant hands and thick fingers, Diddlebeard brings his hands together in a villainous way and then rubs them like he would be preparing to eat when he was sexualizing something or someone. Ew. He's performed this action so much that both OPs have the sound of his rings passing over each other memorized. Talking about our shared memories with DB, OP2 dubbed his hands Diddlin' Fingers. Lord! And now, for our sake, we have Diddlebeard. Whereas it is not the beard on the outside that counts, Diddlebeard does sport one, and oh boy, what a neckbeard. DB was able to grow a decently thick goatee, although running a comb through it, or even cleaning it, was just out of the question. Then we have the rest of his face. Thinking he was a great specimen of human masculinity, he let all of the hair he had grow to its full potential. At times, he would try to shave different Hunger Games patterns into his beard. Why? However, his beard was scraggle in most places and would end up looking like he had random patches of fuzz, read pubes, all over his face. Oh, that ain't a good look, homie. Oh, and Diddlebeard has a fiancée that is his age as well. She does not live in the same state anymore due to getting a better job 2 time zones away. DB has an open relationship with his SO and is required to ask permission from her if he wanted to be sexual with his third wheel. Let us call her Pollen. I think with that quick description of DB, we can now move on to OP1's first interaction with Diddlebeard. Don't worry, more detail of DB will be given as our chronicle compiles. Now we pause and rewind a few years, back when OP1 was 23 years old and rented an apartment with 2 roommates. OP1 reconnects with OP2 a year prior, who was 24 and living elsewhere in this part of the tale. OPs 1 and 2 will refer to one of the roommates as Click-Clack the Sperm Whale, or SW for short. He is someone who thinks that being gay and mean is an acceptable personality. SW is 2, almost 3 years older than OP1, and was the one that introduced them to Diddlebeard, who is 8 years older than OP1. Yes, Diddlebeard had just turned 31 as he slid his way into my life. With his age difference, OP1 did not run into Diddlebeard while in grades 6 through 12. I guess I was lucky in that regard. However, OP1's best friend at the time, Sperm Whale, was friends with our Neckbeard to come. Diddlebeard comes by OP1's apartment to hang out with Click-Clack the Sperm Whale every now and then. This is quite a grouping of names. And the visits become more frequent when he meets OP1. OP1 is what we have learned is called beard bait. Whereas OP1 does not identify as female, their body has features that could default to female orientation. OP1 is into anime, likes to draw, and studies everything science. To Diddlebeard, these features made them a prime piece of meat that he had to have. Ugh. While Diddlebeard is visiting regularly, OP1 breaks up with a different gaslighting Neckbeard in the making. The moment Diddlebeard learns of OP1's change in relationship status, the chase begins. After the short but toxic relationship, the first half of the year, OP1 is mentally exhausted and yearning for distraction. A few days pass after OP1's breakup, and Diddlebeard comes over to the apartment while they are the only one home. The past has been full of traumatic characters and events for OP1, and due to this, OP1 hoarded a good amount of stuff throughout the years. They went from living in big houses with both parents, through divorce and downsizing, and subsequently moving out on their own with all of that stuff into a small apartment. Enter this safe space proudly, Diddlebeard in shining armor. DB has an ever-growing list of things that make him the beard he is. Needing to organize was one of his things, and seeing the stuff I had packed away all over the apartment launched him into an endeavor to help OP1 clean up, quote-unquote. I'll add a note here to say that the apartment was not immediately dirty, mostly just crowded. When it becomes relevant, we'll expand on living conditions. Just hold tight, my fellow reapers of cringe. Diddlebeard believed that it would help OP1 by throwing away items seldom used, or otherwise deemed clutter by him. Whereas it helped in the moment to organize the apartment more, OP1 lost some things that never should have been removed. During this tornado of Diddlebeard going through OP1's stuff, he starts to tell a sob story because he could tell that OP1 wasn't seeing him as the knight in shining armor that he wanted. The forced cleanup moves into the bedroom. I still had my clothes from high school and a few pieces from middle school. While sorting through the clothing, I'd find pieces and reminisce about the positive memories that were attached. This action, not just towards my clothing, but to anything else that I grabbed during the crackdown, was unacceptable and wasted time in Diddlebeard's wandering eyes. Lovely. Before I go into the story that this Neckbeard will tell me, I need to ask you to bear with me. There is a point to this, and I'm not poking fun at anyone's sickness or illness. Death is a real thing and should be taken seriously in all the forms it can take. Diddlebeard starts. When DB was in college, being educated in the art of teaching, he was involved with an older woman while being active with Pollen. This unnamed woman was a year or two older than DB, and she had fallen seriously ill. He would visit her every day at the hospital, spend every waking moment with this person. DB would sometimes skip class to be with her and keep her strong, as he would put it. She was steadily getting worse. His finals approached, and DB believed that as long as he was around, she would keep on living. The day of the finals come, and she looks him in the eye and tells him he needs to go take this test. That he must take this test. If not for himself, then for her. She will wait for him. DB tries to argue, but leaves for the test in the end. Before he leaves, he made her promise that she would be there after he's done with the final. While he was telling this unexpected story, OP1 grew warm with working and took off their sweatshirt, ending up in just a t-shirt. Every time OP1 would look up DB's direction, he would jerk his head away like he wasn't just itemizing them in the same way one would the meat section at the local deli. Sometimes he went as far as claiming that his eyesight is so poor that he does not know where he is looking. Meanwhile, his face would be right above another person's chest. While Diddlebeard is telling OP1 this story, they're staying silent and simply listening, waiting for him to be done with his long-winded tale. He starts to choke on some of his words and tries to get all sobby with his story. DB arrives at his final, hands in his cell phone to the professor, joins the rest of the class at the test. During the test, he's distracted by this uneasy feeling in his gut. He knows that without him, and him alone, his milady, as he started calling her, would not be okay. He rushes through the test, hands it to his professor, collects his phone. As he turns it on again, a new voicemail notification pops up. It is the worst possible news. Oh, jeez. DB walks over to OP1, who is still going through their dresser, pauses, wipes his dry face, and grabs OP1's hands. With his diddling digits wrapped around my tiny wrist, I am immobilized, stunned by this feeling and this smell of his breath on my face and neck. Diddlebeard keeps his clutch engaged and continues his story. After DB left Milady, she started to destabilize. By the time DB arrived at campus, she had passed away. The hospital called him a few minutes after he had turned off his phone. He rushed to the hospital and arrived at her room just as they were removing her body. Ouch. With that, his story is abruptly over, and OP1 is standing in an awkward silence as Diddlebeard is forcing himself to cry and not achieving that goal. Please tell me this man did not just use someone's death in order to gain sympathy points. I really hope that's not what I just heard. Nowhere in his story does Diddlebeard include what test or class he was taking, nor what illness this woman was suffering from. The connection to his education and teaching is a connection OP1 made at the time. However, Diddlebeard never included that bit of information while dialoguing. Everything seemed really staged. OP1 had tuned most of it out while they were cleaning. Trapped with a fake crying giant Neckbeard, OP1 is lost. Diddlebeard sees this conflict of emotion in OP1 and calls them out for not reacting to this tear-jerking tale. Alright. OP1 thinks for a second that maybe his story is real. Loss affects us differently, and figuring out how to cope is a unique process after all. Then Diddlebeard said this. Every girl I've told that story to in the past started crying, came rushing over to comfort me however they could. What? Now, if only OP1 had acknowledged this huge red flag, we wouldn't have any more stories. Let us think the best of people and just believe that Diddlebeard is being over the top and trying to be friends with OP1. Sure, that's his goal. OP1 was nowhere near done organizing the ever-growing mess in their apartment, and DB took this opportunity to start talking about himself even more. We move back into the dining/living room area, and Diddlebeard wants to throw away some furniture that OP1 has doubles of. Childhood and decorative items were useless and needed to go. It did not matter that they were older than OP1 and came from their home across the pond. No, that didn't matter in the least. No, it did not matter that OP1 protested loudly. Diddlebeard wanted to throw the items away and completed this action by launching OP1's belongings off the second-story porch and into the parking lot. If OP1 wasn't best friends with her neighbors already, they sure were now. Diddlebeard barreled up and down the stairs leading to the front door in his process of cleaning up the catastrophe he had just created outside. While DB worked to destroy the stairs under his heavy tread, he begins to describe to OP1 his long-distance relationship with Pollen. Before learning the name of Diddlebeard's long-term girlfriend, DB drops that he's currently looking for a third wheel to have fun with. He speeds right on ahead, saying that if he opened his relationship up for someone new, it wouldn't be an emotional connection, only a physical one. Have you ever had someone look directly down at you, squint their eyes, smile wide, and keep their lips together? If Diddlebeard opened his mouth in that smile, he would have salivated into his already sticky beard. He takes a deep breath while hovering over OP1 longer than needed, then finally retreats to pack up his own satchel of miscellaneous items. Diddlebeard's assessment of OP1 was completed. Diddlebeard has deemed them worthy for game for his pursuit. What are red flags anyway? Just dive headfirst through whatever you want, right? OP1 wishes that they had said get the fuck out, but no. They nod their way through most of the hour-long conversation and wave goodbye to Diddlebeard as he drove away that night. This has been quite a story so far, hasn't it? Well, we wouldn't have a complete day with the Neckbeard if they didn't send you follow-up texts within an hour of the hangout being over. Diddlebeard starts texting OP1, a very sexual message complimenting them on their body and all of its curves. Wonderful. OP1 does not identify with their body the way that Diddlebeard was describing it. To confront this creep and shut him down, or to take these triggering comments as compliments. The latter option is taken by OP1. Diddlebeard moved on to asking what OP1 thought about his caring story earlier and how he was looking for a new partner. OP1 did not much care either way at this point in life and had that wonderful thought that has never ended well. Oh, why not? What's the worst that could happen? And with that, OP1 and Diddlebeard became a thing. Oh, man. That's okay. That's a lot of not okay. That's a lot of holy shit. They got bigger red flags than fucking China, my dude. Wow. I mean, I will go so far as to say, because I don't know, but I will go so far as to say that, okay, this story, this person that Diddlebeard lost out of his life, this woman who passed away, that is incredibly tragic. Losing someone is incredibly painful, and yes, sometimes you do cope with things in a really weird way, but that is not the feeling I was getting from him telling this story like this, especially with the, other women immediately run to me. You were basically using this horrible moment, this person's passing, to gain sympathy so you can game on somebody. That is absolutely fucking disgusting. That is abject filth. That is horror of the 9th degree. Fuck this guy. Fuck him and fuck his neckbeard bullshit. How fucking dare you? Like, I have no words. I just... And all of this to objectify someone who isn't even interested. Just... fuck off, man. Just fuck off. Oh, man. Regrettably, Beardbait, I am so sorry that you and anyone else had to go through this shit. That is... Oh boy, that is really fucked up. And it seems to me that you have more stories about this. So, if you're willing to share them and want me to read them, or anyone for that matter, I guess, please do feel free to share. But, goddamn, dude, that... Do I really need to say it again? Yes, you're my audience, and that's what we all want to say. Say it with me, children. Fuck that guy. Thank you all for being here. If you enjoyed this, the YouTube thing, there's Ko-Fi, I forgot the name for a second, and a merch store, and subreddit. If you have another story to send me, or any stories to send me, or anything really, check out the subreddit. Links are all below this video, but seriously, fuck that guy. I love you all very much, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye, everybody.